talk about file, right? So what is the file? Have you heard of the keyword called file?
Yes.
Have you heard of the term called file? Do we use the word file in the real physical world?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where do we use? What is the purpose of using the file in the physical world? What do we do?
Group of documents.
Exactly, right? So in the file folder, basically you store, you have all your daily expenses, you put in folder, all your certificates, you put in a separate file folder, right? So the same way in the software, in the computer, what is the file? In the computer world terminology, what is the purpose of a file?
File can be any format, sir. Either text, image, video.
Or binary, correct. What is the purpose of a file? That is correct. The content could be text file or binary, right? But what is the purpose of file?
Storing data, sir.
Storing the information.
Storing the
Exactly,
information.
right? So storing the information. Why do we store the data in the file?
To prepare
To perform
to
actions,
prepare our storage,
read
sir.
and execute.
Our
No,
information.
the file storage is a permanent, right?
Yes, sir.
So you want to store the data. For example, all the employees' data, you want it to be permanent, isn't it? So the database storage or file storage is almost same, right? But only thing database and basically the security control, basically. So the database security can be controlled and access can be better through queries and all. In the file, you have to read it manually. So file storage or database storage is almost same, except for security and the convenience and writing the queries and all, some of the aspects of the differences between storing it in a file and writing this thing. Okay. So the files basically is Java files. So have you heard of ASCII? What is ASCII?
American.
Have you heard of ASCII code?
Yes, sir.
What is ASCII code, Uday? Okay, ASCII code is basically it's a standard for everything you see it on the keyboard. There is a number associated with it, right? Whether there is a characters or the number, there is a number.
You can understand textured data and character data, sir.
Exactly. American standards of basically is at the end of the day, everything has to be converted as a number. Yes or no? If computer has to process, everything has to be converted as a number.
Yes.
Can computer recognize A?
Directly no.
It will convert it.
Huh?
It convert into binary language.
The computer doesn't understand A.
Yes, sir.
So what is the A from the computer perspective? A is 64. Number 64 is A.
Yes.
B is 65.
Numbers will convert into its language.
Exactly, right? At the end of the day, what a computer understands is only binary, zeros and ones. Right? So the number 64 is again converted into it's a zeros and one. All right. So the ASCII representation of if you do it again, it is basically 1111 something 1110 or something. It's a 8-digit binary code. When you write the 8 digits ones and zeros, so it will be finally get converted into 64, 65 up to. So ASCII is notation is basically the byte. What is the minimum value of a byte?
60.
Byte is how many bits?
8
bits, sir.
8 bits.
8 bits.
So what is the minimum value of a byte? 1. What is the maximum value we can store it in a byte? 2 to the power of 7 minus 1. That is 127. Right? So in case of a byte, the minimum is 1 and the maximum you can store is 127.
127.
Okay. So to store To store all the, you have multiple different languages across the world, right?
Yes.
There is a Urdu, there is a Hindi, there is Telugu. They're all, you can see these languages in the computer, right? You can display it up. So what are their codes? How do you store and retrieve these Urdu language, Hindi language, and Telugu language and all? What is the representation of them in the computer? They are called Unicode. So what is the representation? Unicode. What is the Unicode representation? The 16-bit representation. So what are how many values can be stored? 2 to the power of 15 minus 1. Right? So what is the value of 2 to the power of 15 minus 1? I think it's, how much it comes to? Is it 8,000 or so? There are 2 to the power of 10, 1024, 1024. I think 16,000. So 16,000 different combinations of data can be stored using Unicode. Right? So the data that you want to store and retrieve, so if you want to store only in the English and zeros, then byte is good enough. If you want to store all the languages across all the world, different representation, then you use something called Unicode. Okay, Unicode is 16 bits. And ASCII is basically stored in the 8 bits. All right. So the files has basically, there are two. The file is something called streams, byte processing files. So store it in byte by byte or store by character by character. What's the difference between byte and character? Any of you? Soumya?
Byte is a represent of zeros and ones, sir. Character is represents a word or alphabets.
No, that's not correct. Soumya or Sunita? What's the difference between byte and character? Madhavi, Monica, any of you?
No, sir.
Uday, Chandu, what's the difference between byte and character?
Character represents
Byte,
the lower
huh?
letter case. Character represents the lower letter cases.
No. See, the primitive data type, what is the size of byte and what is the size of character? Byte is 8 bits, right?
Yes, sir.
And what is the size of character? 16 bits. Right? So byte is 8 bits and character is 16 bits. So the files, basically the Java classes are organized around either you're storing and retrieving using bytes or storing and retrieving using characters. Okay, so those are all the two different types of Java classes, right? Let me share you. Okay, so what is basically the byte based Java classes using byte as a store and retrieve the bytes, store and retrieve byte by byte. So what kind of a classes? They're all called input stream
Output stream.
and output stream classes. So these are the parent classes, right? Store and retrieve character by character. Store and retrieve char by char. So they are called reader and writer classes. Okay. So these are the super classes. So if you are actually dealing, you want to store and retrieve byte by byte, then you use input stream and output stream. These are the abstract classes. Both are abstract classes. Okay. So what you all know what is an abstract class, right? you cannot directly create an object. Abstract class is you cannot directly create an object. Okay. So first of all, have you heard of the term stream? Why are these are all called streams? Have you heard of the stream in the real physical world? What is the meaning of stream? Where
Stream
did
is
you hear
like
of stream?
civil engineer, mechanical, or CSE.
Okay, in the physical world, have you heard of the term stream?
Yes, sir.
Where did you hear mechanical?
Sir, mechanical, CSE, CSE.
It's simple, yeah. Have you heard of the term called stream of water, right?
Sir, exactly.
Yeah. What is the meaning of stream of water? Stream of water is flowing continuously,
Moving.
right? The stream of water is flowing continuously. The same way, why it is stream is called, the data is flowing continuously into the file and out of the file. That is why they are called streams. When you write to the file, that is called output stream. When you write to the file, it is called output. Writing to the file is called output. Writing to the file. So what is that writing to the full file is called? Data is moving towards, data is flowing towards the file. Flowing towards the file. These are all called output. Output streams are writers. So in case of characters, they're all called file writers. Okay. So this is data is flowing towards the file. What does it mean? This is nothing but storing into the file. This is nothing but storing into the file. What is reading from the file? So reading from the file is data is flowing from the file. Data is flowing from the file. So that is, they're all called input stream or readers. So what is that? This is nothing but reading from the file. They are called reading from the file. Okay. You understood the difference between input stream and output stream? Output stream is nothing but
Writing into the file.
writing into the file. Input stream is nothing but
Reading the file.
reading from the
Reading
file.
from the file.
Okay. So why they are all called streams?
Continuous flow of
Similar
data.
to the data is water is flowing. Here, what is flowing? The data is flowing into the file or data is flowing from the file. They're all, that's the reason they're all called streams. Okay. So the input stream and output stream, the type of data that flows is using bytes. It's character 8-bit by 8-bit data flows. In case of readers and writers, it is character by character. 16-bit data is the one that flows into the file and out of the file. Is clear? Right? So now if you look at this diagram, okay. So now if you observe this diagram, what is this? So you have a file, you read it from the file or console, or read it from the keyboard. The data that you enter from the keyboard or socket. Socket is what? Network. Right? So the data input is either could be a file or the keyboard or coming from the network. So that is the source of the data. Then once the source of the data, the stream. So reading from the stream, the Java application reads it, and this is what is the destination, and output stream is writing to the file, either writing to the file or writing to the console where you can see it on the display monitor, or write to the network socket. What is socket? Socket is a network. When two computers has to communicate with each other, that is what is called the network programming. The sockets and all comes into picture when all the internet. What is the technology behind the internet? This is called socket programming.
Socket.
Right? The LAN. I don't know how many of you studied the computer networks. How many of you studied the subject called computer networks? Chandu have studied. Samya have studied
Sir, no.
computer networks.
LAN,
Yeah,
local area network,
wide area network,
wide area network.
metropolitan area network. So all this, what is the basic concept of programming? The programming is called socket programming. Okay. So this is what is called flow. So it reads, the file is the source and uses the input stream. Application uses the input stream to read it, output stream to write it, and the destination is file. This is what is called the flow. Right? So now what is the class hierarchy of the output stream? So if you look at the class hierarchy of the output stream is an abstract class. The child classes are file output stream, byte, filter, pipe, and object output stream. Out of this, most of the time, we will use the file output stream. The other classes are used less time. And the filter output stream further has the data output stream, buffer output stream, and print stream. Right? This is the child classes of filter. So we are going to look at output stream, the file output stream, data output stream, buffered output stream. Okay. So we will look at what are these. So, right. What is a stream? A stream is a sequence of data. So it is composed of bytes. Okay. So now the input stream, what are the classes similar to the output stream? Input stream also is an abstract class. It has a child class is called filed input stream. And then it has a filter and then data input stream, buffered input stream, right? So we will focus only on input stream, file input stream, data input stream, and buffered input stream, because that is 80% of the time. These are the classes we're going to use it. The rest, you can all study it later or, right? Because the usage of, these are all the classes we are going to use it. Okay. So what are the methods, right? So if you look at the methods that are being used, the input stream, the methods are read. So one method is called read or read byte array, right? So the one, what is read? It reads 1 byte, and this it reads, if the byte array of 10 size, then it reads 10 bytes at a time. So these are the two methods. Another method is called available. So if available is basically is how many bytes are available to read from the file. So that is called output stream. So what are the methods in output stream? Called write byte array, right? So these are all the methods, and then another method, there are the methods that are available are called close. What is a close? Close the stream. So it's a open, similar to the water. If your water has to flow, what is that we need to do from a reservoir? What do they do? The water has to flow. Huh? Pipes are open, right? When will the water flow from a reservoir? So when the tap is open, then only the water flows, right? Otherwise it's stagnant. So similarly here, if you want to read from the file, you open the file, then read it and close the file. So the operations are open, read and close it. Similarly, writing also open, write and close it. Okay. So these are the basic operations of stream. Input stream or output stream. Okay. So let's look at some of the program. So if you look at the code, probably it's more easy for you to understand. Right. Okay. So this is file input stream example, right? So that is you are reading from a file. So what are the classes that you have to use? You are using? Okay. So what is the format? This is the file input stream is the class. This is the object, that file input stream object. And then you have to use new. So you are creating file input stream object, file input stream. You have to pass the path of the file. So that is here D drive. So this is folder. So how do you, what is, these are all called separation, right? So you have to use, this is the folder, these are all, you have to use double backslashes in case of a Windows. If you're using Linux, what do you use? The forward slash. If you're using the Unix or Linux, you use the forward slash. If you're using Windows, you use the backward slash. So these are all separators. So in the D drive, there is a files folder and the file is testout.txt. So you want to read from that file. You want to read from that file. So this is how you open the file for reading it. Clear? So what is required? File input stream. And what is the parameter you have to pass to the file input stream? The path of the file. You have to pass the path of the file. Right? So then you open the file for reading. After the file is open, so then remember this try catch block we discussed, right? We discussed about this exception handling. So what kind of an exception files will throw? Prashant, do you remember?
Input output exceptions. IO exception.
IO exception. What kind of an exception that files will throw? The exception is called IO exception. And IO exception is what kind of an exception it is?
Checked exception.
Exactly, checked exception, right? So if I do not have this, so you will see it. Let's say if I remove this code and this code, so you will see it gives an error. What is error it's giving? I commented out the try catch block. Unhandled exception type, file not found exception. So that is why it's called checked. It will not let you compile. So what is the exception it is giving? It is giving IO exception. So this statement gives, what is the exception it is giving? File not found exception it will throw. If the file is not there, it will throw file not found exception. And this will throw that IO exception. Right? And what is the exception? It shows it again throws IO exception. This throws again is IO exception. That is the reason we need to have this try catch block because they're all checked exceptions. Right? So now if I put this code in the try catch block, so this error will go away. So what is the format? What is the syntax? You have to use file input stream. What is the parameter you have to pass? You have to pass the path of the file. Once that is the file is open, then you can read, right? So you have to, what is the method you have to use? Read. Then it reads 1 byte, and that byte is assigned to I, and then you're printing that 1 byte. So if you want to read all the characters, you can use the loop. Okay. So now let's look at this file, testout.txt. Where is it located? It is located in, this is the file. So what is the content it has? It has, so let's write, okay, hello world, how are you? Right? So now let's run the program. See, it goes through this loop and print all the characters in the file. Okay, clear everyone? Any questions so far? Then you are opening here, this statement is opening the file. So you are reading it and you are reading the entire file through the loop. So when you have file.read, you read by read. At the end of the file, whatever it will throw, it will throw -1. At the end of the file, then it throw -1. So then it will come out of the loop and then it closes the loop. So you need to open the file, do the file operations, and then close it. The entire thing, you have to put it in the try catch block, because this is all the file operations are checked exceptions. Okay, this is file input stream. Now let's look at so this is reading from the file. Let's look at the output stream. So what is the difference? Instead of the file input stream, here we are want to write to the file. So you open the file there, right? So then first you can write 1 character, and then you can write the entire string. How do you write the string? So you want to write the string. Then the string, you get the bytes assigned to a byte array, and then you pass the write array. So remember, we talked about 2 methods. One is a write method, where you pass the 1 byte, or you can pass the byte array. So it supports 2 methods. So this is you're writing a single byte, and this here you're writing the byte array to the file. Okay. So now let's look at, so now if we run this, so again you close the file. So again you put it in the try catch block. So now run this. Right, it's successful. Now if you open this file, okay, see it, the first character we have written is 65. Then welcome to Java point. What did we write in the code? We have written welcome to Java point dot. Before that, we have written 65. That's why you have A and then this string. So now if you open the file, what does the file contain? A, welcome to Java point. Okay. So similarly, read, you can read a single byte or read an array of bytes. Similarly, write a single byte or write an array of bytes to the file. So open the file, read or write, and close, and put it in the try catch block. These are all the fundamentals of. Okay. So next is buffered. What is the concept of buffered, right? Let's understand why buffer is required. So how does actually, how does it read? Where does the files are located?
In storage,
Where, in which storage?
hard disk.
Other
Hard
than
disk, right?
Java.
Okay. So now is the hard disk faster or the RAM is faster?
RAM is faster.
Huh?
RAM
Which one
is
is faster? The RAM is faster, right? Okay. So if you when we use the file input stream or write out, what is happening? It is writing from the RAM. Processor is taking the data. If it is writing it, taking the RAM and directly writing to the file. Byte by byte is being written to the file. Similarly, reading, byte by byte is reading from the hard disk into the RAM, right? So since reading from the hard disk is slower or writing to the hard disk is slower, so what is the concept that is being introduced? It's called buffering. What does the buffer do? So while writing, first computer writes to the buffer, and then once the buffer is full, where is the buffer located? Buffer is also located in the memory. Okay. And then from the buffer, let's say you declare a buffer of 1024 characters, then writing it, all the characters are written to the buffer, and then at one shot from the buffer, it writes to the file. Right? This is how the flow. Let me just explain. How does the buffer gets introduced? So if you look at it, so with buffer and without buffer, let's do the difference. So without buffer, what happens? You have a CPU. So then takes it from RAM and writes to the file. Okay. So this is without the buffer. This is the output part. So in case of input string, again, CPU so takes it from the file and writes to the RAM. So this is on the input side. So now what kind of in case of buffer, what happens? CPU, so if it is writing, writes to the buffer, then, so let's say you are the buffer is internally declared as buffer of say 1024 characters. Okay. So this is buffer. Where is the buffer located? Buffer is also located in the memory. Then what happens? From the buffer, content is written to the file at one shot. So it is faster. The same way the other way around. Other way again is, read from the hard disk to the buffer and from buffer to the memory for processing. So the advantage here is, as the buffer is getting empty in the background, it reads from the file into the buffer, right? Similarly, you can write to the buffer, and writing to the buffer and writing from the buffer to the file is faster parallel operation. So that is the reason. So the buffered output stream is the useful. How many of you understood the concept of buffered? Madhavi, Rekha, Prashant, did you understand? Uday?
Yes, sir.
The buffer, what is the purpose of a buffered output stream or buffered input stream?
If we want to write or read large data, buffer is useful because
So in what way the buffer is useful?
it acts as medium between RAM and hard disk.
Okay. Right. So it acts as a medium. So what it means basically medium is, so directly reading from the hard disk is slower operation. So that is the reason you read it, write to the buffer and the buffer to the file, or read from the into the buffer and read from the buffer. So that so buffer to the memory is faster operation because it's memory to memory transfer. Right? So that is the reason the another class that we will use is called buffered output stream and buffered input stream. Let's look at the programs. Akash, so yesterday 22 people were there. Today only 16 are there. What happened, Akash?
Yes, sir, I will talk with them, sir.
Any messages you received?
Yes, sir, I received from Tejas.
Who all informed you?
Only Tejaswini, sir.
Oh, Tejaswini informed. That's not, did not inform. Okay, send a message.
Okay, sir, I will send.
Okay, all right. So let's look at the buffered output stream and buffered input stream. All right, let's look at the code. So what is the buffered output stream? See, the same way earlier also you use the same. You create an output object, file output stream, and the path you give it, and then you declare the buffered output stream for the output stream. So the F out is an object, this is output stream object, and then you declare the buffered output stream for this thing. Okay. So that is the difference. So only thing is you just put a buffered output stream as a wrapper around the file output stream. Similarly, buffered input stream is a wrapper around the file input stream, right? So then you have a string, again, get the bytes, write the bytes. Another operation is called flush. What is the flush? What does the flush do?
Remove the storage data in that.
Yeah, flush is when the whatever data that is there in the buffer is being written to the file, or basically or buff that is being written to the file. So, right, you want to forcefully clear the buffer and write the entire content of the buffer to the file before closing the file. That's why it's called flush operation. The buffer should be clear and write to the file, then you close the buffer, and this is close the buffer and then close the file. Okay. So let's run this program. Right. So now let's look at this. We have written it to test 5. So what have we written? Welcome to Java Point. This has been written. Okay. Now let's look at the buffered input stream class. Same as again is you create input stream class. So let's say this is test 5, what we created there. So then put the buffered input stream wrapper around it, and then read the entire file and printed it, right? So now let's run this. Okay, so this read the file. Okay, so that's on the buffered. Okay, the next file input stream is called sequence output stream and sequence input stream. What is the sequence output stream and sequence input stream? So if you have, let's say, 2 files, you want to merge them and read it, then you will use the sequence output stream. You have file A and file B, you want to concatenate and read it, then you use the sequence input stream, or you want to, so that is called sequence input stream. You want to read the content of two files, then you use the sequence input stream, right? So that is what is the sequence stream. So there are two files. You have file input stream, open both the files, and then you pass them to the sequence input stream. Okay. So, and then you can read the content. Did you understand what is sequence input stream? Prashant, did you understand?
Yes, sir. If we want to read more than one file, or if we want to write into more than one file, we need
No, the
to
sequence
do.
input stream is only available on the reading side, not on the writing side.
Okay. Then
So-
the sequence in the order will be passed into the parameters. With that order, it reads the files.
Exactly,
give
right?
input
So
to
that
one-
is what is called the sequence input stream. Okay. The next last topic is called a data output stream and data input stream. So the data output stream and data input streams are used for writing the primitive data and reading the primitive data from the file. What are the primitive data here? So you want to write the integer, long, character, boolean in a particular order. You want to write to the file and read them the file. Then you use the data input stream and data output stream classes, right? So let's look at that example. So you use the called data output stream and data input stream. Okay. So what are the methods? It has data dot. So if you look at it, what all method it says available? You have integer, byte, boolean, character, double, float, int, long. You see, these are all the primitive data available, short, right? And string. Okay. So the methods that are available in the data output stream are, these are all the methods. All the primitive data, you can write it and you can read it. So it's basically the order in which you write it, it matters, right? So for example, let's say write long, okay, 35. Right now, let's say data dot write float. So you want to write 34.5F. Okay. So now we have written write int, long, and float. This to the file called 6. So one is basically one more thing. Whatever is the data is being written, if you use the data, it will be in the binary format. The data output stream, whatever is the file it creates is a binary format. So now let's look at this. Okay, so it is written. Now let's go back and look at read the same thing. Okay. So again, input stream and data input stream, you're opening it, right? So now the same order, we have to write int x equal to install dot get dot read int. So there we have written it, right? So now long L equal to dot read long. Okay, so the same order, it's float F equal to dot read float. Right, so now let's print the values. So you want to system dot out dot print ln int is x long L is L float F is F. Right. Okay, so let's run this program. Okay, so the same order in which we have written, we are able to read it. These are all binary files. If you go back and look at what is a binary file, so now if you open this file, do you see it? You don't see these numbers, isn't it? If you notice this file, does it have these numbers 34, 34.5 we've written, right? Can we open the file and read them? Prashant? Or Chandu? Shivaleka, Rekha. Again, I hate when the class is quiet. I just want to again repeat it every day. If you don't answer the questions, I don't feel like taking the class at all. Right? Okay. So any questions before we conclude? So before we go on to the quiz? Okay, if you don't have any questions, let's start the quiz. Okay, that's the quiz for today.